Welcome to Your Need to Know. I'm your host, Catherine Reed, and today we're talking with Lauren Feliz-Durishin, who is the founder and CEO of Mother to Mother Inc. Thank you so much for being here, Lauren.
Thank you for having me.
So Mother to Mother Inc., I have not heard of you, and I think that's because you're brand new.
That's correct. I am brand new.
You're brand new. So you have a very interesting concept of why you started this organization, and I think our viewers would love to hear what it's all about.
That's correct. I noticed that there was a gap in our community with regard to education, arts, and theater arts, as well as advocacy. And I just happened to know a lot of really talented, amazing women. And so I decided to get a group of women together, and I said, hey, let's put on something for other people. And so I put together a cabaret, and it was very successful. Our first organization that we worked with was Bras, bringing resources to aid women's shelter.
We know Holly Siebold very well here on Your Need to Know.
They were amazing. And it was so successful that we decided to make it a nonprofit. And 2 years later, almost to the day, we are a nonprofit, 501c3 national.
Well, congratulations to that is an accomplishment.
That is quite an accomplishment.
That's quite an accomplishment. So when you decided to do this, is it basically like this ongoing benefit concert supporting various organizations?
Yes, basically what we tried to do is each season we focus on a featured foundation in the National Capital Region, that's Maryland, Virginia, and DC, that focus on different topics, specifically domestic violence, female homelessness, child abuse, human trafficking, public harassment, and such other high-profile topics, and then their populations that it affects. Right. And then we write an original script and cabaret that tell their story, and that educates the community that attends, and we raise funds for them.
That is absolutely amazing. It's such a unique way to both raise visibility. I know you said education was something you were interested in, using the arts for public good.
Yes.
You know, and so you're raising up awareness of issues, you're raising up the organizations that you're supporting, and you're using the talents of people who are in the arts to do that. That is quite unique.
Thank you. Thank you.
So your background is theater arts. You're a local girl. I mean, for at least part of your life.
For at least part of my life, yes. I'm from Fairfax. I went to Woodson High School. I worked with Terry Hobson and Michael Ehrlich, and I was also Air Force brat, so I moved all around. Currently living in Arlington, and but that's not my local job. My job, I actually do finance.
Right. So. And this only goes to show you too, can I just point out that just because your day job is finance doesn't mean that you cannot use your artistic talents and your passion for music and theater to do good in your community.
That is one of the tenets that actually Mother to Mother stands on, is our musicians, what I try and do, and I pull them in, is let the community know that, you know, it's not just what we want from our volunteers is not necessarily just funding or their time, it's their talent. And you don't have to be the most amazing musician or do it your full time. If you want to get up there and sing and dedicate your time to a foundation or an idea like domestic violence because you believe in it, hey, we'll work with you. And that's awesome.
You know, and the roots of that being in community theater, because I grew up in community theater. And so, and that is very much, you know, people come every night despite their full-time jobs and their families and their kids. Yeah. They come every night for the rehearsal. They come on the weekends to build the scenery and the sets. You know, they put on these shows, and it's just so grassroots.
It is.
And I think it's an outlet. People do community theater because it's an outlet for people who didn't get to do it full time as their profession.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think that the advocacy portion of the cabaret is the key tenet. I mean, we really, really reach down for each one of the songs that we're singing, and I work with the musician. I'm like, okay, so this is this song, but what are you feeling when you're talking about this? Imagine that you are this person. This is the subject matter that you're talking about. This is domestic violence. 1 in 4 women are affected by domestic violence. There are 9 of us sitting here. That means that, and then it makes them open up their eyes and say, wow, that's really powerful. And it brings out that emotion. It brings out that, I don't know, the intensity. And that intensity carries forward to the audience. And then that carries forward on into the community when they go long after the event is over. And that's what we really want to do with Mother to Mother and Together Unbreakable, which is our Caberet series.
Together Unbreakable. And I love this idea too that mothers can in fact support each other. Yes. That's not always the case. I think a lot of mothers, women in general, feel very judged a lot by other women. And there is this side that we do have a tendency to come together and support each other if we know someone needs help. But removing the stigma from people feeling like they can ask for help, tell their stories, seek help from some of these organizations. We run into people every day in our lives who are going through a lot of things that we don't know about, whether it's homelessness or poverty or domestic violence, and people feel judged. So it's interesting to me that you really put this very positive spin on women supporting women and mothers supporting mothers.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, that is part of, I do a lot of open research when I'm writing the script, because I also write the script. So there's a lot of open research, but I try and gather individuals' stories, and it's those silent stories. And, when you have people I have people coming to me and telling me things that they've never shared before. That is it takes your breath away. And it's a part of their healing, it's a part of my healing, it's a part of the whole thing that we're trying to do. And I think culturally we're finally getting to a place where we can talk about mental health, we can talk about some of these high profile, really, really hard topics without feeling the shame of, that I've done something wrong.
Or that I should hide it.
Or that I should hide it.
I should hide it. The Me Too movement, I mean, you're pulling this together at just this moment in time where suddenly, statistics like 1 in 3 and 1 in 4, and with the Me Too movement, suddenly everybody's raising their hand to tell their story.
Yes.
And it's astonishing that nearly everyone has a story.
Yes.
That's what should really floor people in general, is so many women have a story.
And it should spark conversations, I think, between all of us, and especially between men and women. And so that is one of the things that, even though it says mother to mother, we do have men
of
that
course
are performing.
Inclusive. We include everybody.
Well, no, but I mean, it is important for men and fathers and brothers and husbands and co-workers to feel like they should carry on those conversations with their female counterparts. And ask and not be afraid to ask those questions. And it can be scary to say, wow, I know you so well, but I didn't know this. Are you okay? That's a scary question, because the answer might be no.
Right. And also culturally, what's acceptable. I was talking to somebody on another interview I did a few weeks back, talking about the lyrics from a song in Greece.
Yeah.
When they're like, tell me more, did she put up a fight?
Oh, yeah.
Now everybody thinks Grease is such a cool musical. The 1950s was so idyllic, and everything in the 50s was just so wonderful, and we're all so nostalgic about it. But that one lyric tells you something truly important about what the expectations were. Did she put up a fight?
Well, the whole song in general is about the masking of a male-dominated idea of what it meant to be really masculine and really feminine, and relationship.
Right.
He Danny Zuko felt like he had to be, like the man, and when in truth he just wanted a lover.
Right. And so culturally there are many signals that we have given out through songs or movies or lots of other popular culture things that have tried to define what masculinity is, what femininity is, and what it's okay to do.
Yeah.
And I think Me Too is finally drawing a line and say it was never okay to begin with. It was never okay to begin with, but now women aren't silent anymore. And this gets back to your concept of women are finding strength in numbers. Yes. Women are finding strength in the support of other women, and men too, who say, I believe you.
Yes.
Bill Cosby, I mean, good grief. who could have imagined that watching the Cosby Show, right?
No one.
No one. And so if the first few women who came out had not been supported by other women and men who said they believed them, all of the other women would not have told their stories. I mean, to me, you have recognized something so unique at a moment in time where we need to be talking about it, singing about it, educating about it, and bringing people together to support each other.
Well, that's the whole thing with, I think, with music. And Broadway is really, I think, a forerunner in this idea that music crosses boundaries. You have Dear Evan Hansen, and I talk a lot about it.
Yeah, I love that musical so much.
I mean, you can't get through the whole musical without just bawling your soul. But it transcends. Music transcends. And that's what we're trying to do is create a safe space for people to be educated in some of the more difficult topics. And so when I create a show, I put together songs that are not necessarily talking about domestic violence, right? But I take it out of its original context, the song, and I put it into a new context to make people think in a different way, to massage some of those lyrics and say, oh, I never thought of it like that. Oh, I didn't think about that. Did she put up a fight?
Right. Yeah, I mean, you start hearing things in a different way.
You hear things differently.
And I think you're right about the emotional impact, how compelling music is, and the fact that it just touches us in a very different way. So the very fact that you have pulled together these community actors, musicians, that you write the scripts, so I do want to talk, because we're going to a break, but I do want to talk when we get back, your venues and how you put out the call for the talent, and again, how you partner with organizations, because there are probably a lot of people going, I would love to be a part of this and be your collaborative partner.
I want you.
Yeah, right? I want you.
Come find me.
That's right. And so we're going to tell people how they can find you.
Yes.
So when we come back from our break, please join me. We are talking to the founder of Mother to Mother, Inc.
There's more than just books at the library.
There's more than just books at the library.
Excuse me. There's more than just books at the library.
Il y a plus que de livres à la bibliothèque.
Hello. You have a lot of great books here today. You know there's more than just books at the library.
I know.
There's more than just books at the library.
Today I'm going to talk to you about physics. Come on in, girls. Let's go. This is the first rocket to get humans to Mars.
Really tall.
I'm a rocket structural engineer, designing and building parts of the rocket. You are the generation that will be stepping foot on Mars. Do I have a group of astronauts on my hands?
Yes.
You can become a rocket scientist or whatever else you want to be.
So, I just moved in with this family, and it's embarrassing. The little one, he likes to go outside and crawl around in the giant litter box. I don't know what he's doing. I mean, I was born and I knew how to use the litter box. Look at that. That's disgusting. Oh, poop already. You're making me nervous. Oh, okay, I can't look at this anymore. I really hope he grows out of this, for his sake.
Welcome back to Your Need to Know. I am talking with Lauren Feliz-Durishin, the founder of Mother to Mother, Inc., about her unique concept of putting on cabaret performances using volunteers from our community to support other nonprofits who are supporting very important work in the Northern Virginia community. Thank you for being here, Lauren.
Absolutely. Thank you again.
So let's explain to people specifically how this works, how you find the people to perform, how you find your rehearsal spaces, how you find your performance spaces. After all, you're a nonprofit supporting other nonprofits.
It's a lot of Mother May I. They're Facebook, social media. I do a lot of asking, does anybody have open space? I use my basement a lot, quite frankly, which isn't small, but as we grow, it's not going to be sufficient.
So explain for those maybe who are like, what does cabaret mean and why is it different from like a Broadway show?
Well, there's no dancing for one. So when we rehearse, we're more or less sitting or standing in a space as big as a 12 by 20 area. And we're just going through the music, maybe with the piano, and that's about it, really. And so a small black box
Theater would
work. When it comes to rehearsals, I suppose performance space, we're looking at probably anywhere from 80 to 100 seat venue. So a small restaurant would work. Places that have open mic nights would work. And so, if a restaurant has a dead night or a night that they don't really get a lot of people trafficking through, I would love for somebody to come to me and say, we'd like to work with you. That'd be great. We could put on something there.
And I'm thinking too, there's lots of communities of faith that have large rooms that they use for lots of different things that could offer performance or rehearsal space to you too.
Absolutely.
I think when you think, ideally Busboys and Poets is a prime example of how you mix book readings and poetry slams and the kind of performances you're talking about in an area that's a restaurant that offers meals and a place for people to gather. But those places are expensive. They're not free. Yeah. And so since you're an all-volunteer organization and a nonprofit, all-volunteer organization, and the whole purpose is to raise money to support the work of other nonprofits. Really throughout the county, in the Northern Virginia area, Arlington, Alexandria, Fairfax.
DC and Maryland.
Right.
So we hit all three. And we're really trying to make sure that when we do our shows, because we're representing all three, we'll go anywhere.
Right.
So, our market is very large, and I'm pulling all musicians and volunteers from everywhere. So I'm willing. Have feet will travel.
Right. So you're basically a traveling cabaret.
Yes, quite.
without a permanent home, we're a traveling cabaret. But that's the thing that's important for our viewers to understand, that how you can support organizations like yours is not necessarily, again, by simply, you don't have to volunteer necessarily or provide money necessarily, but if you have connections to a space and you can go to the people who make decisions about that space to say, I have an idea.
Thinking outside the box is always helpful, and connections, networking in today's world, when I think people get so caught up with who or social media, but it's really the face-to-face interactions. You and we met through a mutual connection, it was so magical.
It was. And it's kind of like people understanding that I'm always looking for people on this show, and we do a lot of nonprofits on the show that maybe don't have the visibility. People have not heard of you or don't understand that they can be involved in something they really care about.
Yes.
So talk a little bit about some of the organizations you've supported. Talk about your next upcoming show that you're working on.
Absolutely. So we've been, in effect, around since 2017. This will be our 5th show. We've worked with bringing resources to aid women's shelters. We've worked with My Sister's Place, which is domestic violence shelter. So that was our domestic violence show. We have worked with Collective Action for Safe Spaces and their mission was public harassment, and they do a lot of advocacy on the Hill, and that was really amazing. We worked with Safe Shores, which is DC's Children Advocacy Center, and their work is just superb. And then this is, of course, Courtney's House, and they focus on human trafficking. And then in the spring of 2020, our future show, we are looking for a foundation that will be focused, featured around mental health awareness and specifically suicide prevention.
Oh, that sounds wonderful. And so the fall show, when you put your show together,
Yes.
when you put your show together, since you're a traveling cabaret, is it a matter of finding a space and being able to schedule something? I mean, and how often are you able to perform?
I put 2 shows on a year, so one in the spring, one in the fall, and I try and schedule them about 6 months apart. So that's the spring fall thing, and then I just cold call places and say, do you have space, and just do the booking. I work with a group called Pop Riot, which is based out of Baltimore, and they do a little bit more of the Baltimore scene, but here in DC, it's been hit or miss. I have worked with, oh gosh, now I'm blanking, Arlington Draft House, and that was wonderful. They don't normally do music venues, but they were open to it, and it was great. And then I worked out in Vienna with the Brindley Brothers at, bugger butts. But, the cafe that's out there. And then Jam and Java. That's what
Right,
Jam and coffee.
Jam and Java is a great musical location.
Yes.
And they are really open to doing a lot of these kinds of,
exactly.
performances.
Yes. So it's places like that that we have been hitting up. In Arlington, when IOTA was open, there's a bunch of places out there, but steadily, space is limited. So ideally, I think restaurants,
restaurants are great. I think of Feinstein's 54 Below in New York.
I know, right?
I love that place so much.
Let's move it up, guys. Let's turn this into a hip hop.
I know, like if you only understood what that venue was, it's very small, like really small, but they book all kinds of acts in there.
And Clarendon is turning into a really awesome spot. I know that they are really trying to make live music venue into something. So I would love to work with any of the restaurants that are trying to do more live music for newer acts.
Right. Mm-hmm. And as far as rehearsal space, if you want to move out of your basement, I'm sure people could help you find like a church or someplace maybe synagogue
community
or
center.
A community center, but where you would be able to get free space to do your rehearsals, so that it's not always in your basement.
Absolutely. But my husband and kids don't mind either.
Well, you have a lot of support, I know, from your husband, who's also a musician.
Yes, my husband is also a musician. He's in the leg warmer, so I'll do a little drop for that one.
I tell you, everybody knows the leg warmer. So it's nice to have a musical husband who's like, yeah, you go do your thing.
You do your thing, babe.
That's right. That's right. And as a mother, and you are still managing to do all the things you need to do with school-age children.
Very type A people.
Yeah.
We're very type A people.
I just think it's remarkable, again, because I am such a supporter of the arts, and public art for public good it's a thing that people are like, well, that makes sense and I love that idea, but somebody actually has to pull it together and do it.
Yeah.
And you've given us a little background on how you write the shows, but these are not original songs. When you write a show, you're basically taking songs and then developing something around it?
I develop a concept. So the idea of a cabaret is you can do a theme. So that's what I do. I write a themed show about a topic. So the topic is the foundation and their main mission. So for example, with Courtney's House mission is helping survivors of domestic human trafficking. And so I select songs that are from Broadway, pop culture, jazz. I take them out of their original context, and then I form a storyboard and I put them in an order that I think tells that story. And then coinciding, I write a script that has more factual information that I get from the foundation itself, and then also open source media. And tie it all with a nice red bow and deliver it to the audience.
And I think that is such a great way of helping people to understand the problem in a way that's not just statistics or facts or, I love documentaries and that's wonderful.
Yeah.
But this is something where you are both touched and entertained
Yes.
and educated.
Yes.
And when we talk about domestic human trafficking, that's right here in Northern Virginia and in Fairfax County. And especially among young adolescent girls, they're being preyed upon and trafficked. I've done a show with Just Ask, which is a nonprofit that combats human trafficking, and Susan Young's daughter was trafficked out of their home while she was going to high school every day. Here.
It is, and domestic trafficking is not just sexual slavery. It's not just selling sex. It's labor.
Right.
It is. So it's very difficult to address because it is right under your nose, and it's insidious because, especially with minors, because minors are so susceptible to manipulation. And Tina Front is the founder of Courtney's House, and she, in all of her discussions to the public, and she's very out there, she talks about her story because she is a survivor of human trafficking. That's the whole reason why she started this. And she's survivor to survivor. And she talks about how when she was 13 in the foster care system, living with her new adoptive family, she was trafficked away from her home because this man who didn't want to initially sleep with her said, I'll take care of you. He made her feel safe.
He groomed her.
He groomed her.
He groomed her and manipulated her. And that is the story.
And that's the story.
And and it's hidden in plain view.
Yes.
Human trafficking is actually hidden in plain view.
Yes.
And we see the victims of it and the survivors of it all the time without knowing it.
That's right.
Well, I have to say, again, I want people to understand that they can go to your Facebook page. It's a great place to find information about your current show. They can look at your Facebook page for your upcoming show. Yes. You're easy to find.
Very easy to find.
And if people have recommendations, that they should reach out to you, especially for space, performance space, rehearsal space. Musicians, performers. If you've got a yen to do good. Thank you so much, Lauren. I appreciate it so much. And for you at home, this is what you need to know.